Okay guys, today I'm going to show you the latest and the greatest release of Tesla self-driving 12.3.4. It just got released a week ago. It is by far the closest they have gotten into cars driving themselves. So show the screen, everyone, show them where I'm going. I'm going to actually see a property in Gardena, and as you can see, it's right now rush hour, very dense traffic. Everything is red on this. So we're going to go through the city streets, which is very difficult. Actually, the car is going to take a freeway and then it's going to exit. So it's some city street and then freeway, and then eventually we're going to go and exit and get to our destination. I'm right now in a parking lot, and we're going to actually start from the parking lot. We're not going to go on the street. So let's watch how it does everything step by step. So here we go. The car is right now in park, so I'm going to press my brake to get it into the start mode and then hit the self-driving button right here. And as soon as I hit that button, it's going to get into the driving mode. Now it's automatically driving, so show them the street. So watch this exit. So it has cars coming from both sides. So this car has to wait for that traffic. Notice how the traffic is literally back-to-back cars, and then make a right turn, and there's a red car to the right of me, and it has to avoid hitting that red car. Watch that red car here. So beautifully done, and here you go. Now it's into the lane. So just like a human being, it waited for the cars to kind of clear, and now you can see how. So here's other cars coming in. Watch how it's watching these cars, and how it slows down even at the flashing red light, understanding that these are just like stop signs. So let's just watch this drive on the surface street, which is always challenging. You can notice that this is a rush hour. It's really busy in LA. By far most cars on the road right now, and it's gonna have to be patient at the stop sign once it leaves the stop sign. This car ahead of me, notice how this guy is getting impatient and getting into the left turn lane a little ahead of the cut, but this car has to go, my car has to go straight, so it's very patient and it's waiting for its turn. So let's see. The one other thing I wanted to mention is that this particular change that they made in V12 on the FSD is based on the same technology that your chat GPT is based on, essentially transfer technology. Here's the flashing red light. It's waiting just like human being, and now it opened up and it's speeding up just like I would, and it's driving on its own. So it makes decisions, a lot of decisions, just like humans would, and it's just totally impresses me. It even understands road signs. It understands hand gestures from people. So here's a red light, people crossing. Shall we show this screen right here? Watch this. This is where it shows what the computer actually sees. Notice these people walking, that's being shown on the screen right there, and the same thing on the street. So it is not a video of what it's seeing. It's actually a video transformed into digital data and then regenerated for our purpose to understand that how car is seeing the world and creating this 3D world, so that we can actually report to Tesla should it make any wrong moves during the process, or as to what the car was seeing versus what the reality is. So green light, perfectly. Car came out of the parking, it watched that, slow down a little bit for that car. One other thing it also does is it notice the speed limit. Notice the speed limit on the street is 25. So I have told the car to drive about 10% above the speed limit. Now watch the speed limit ahead. It's a 35 speed limit, and it's going to change the speed up to about 38 or 40 because of the speed limit is now higher. So it can read the speed limit signs, but I do have a option to override the maximum speed it can go at. So I told it to go up to 40. So here's a very congested, another congested right turn that we had to make, and it's going to actually not go through a red light to avoid the congestion. It's going to go take a internal road, which is very clever. Normally only people that live locally know this trick, that you can come in. And watch this dip in the road. Watch how it slowed down on that dip to make sure you're not, putting pressure on your shock absorbers. So now it took that internal turn, and it's going to make a right turn onto this very busy Supervised street, avoiding that congestion at the traffic light. So it pauses, waits for the cars, and now what it does is it actually does creep into the intersection a little bit to see whether there are any cars coming in. It doesn't see any cars, and it's going to go ahead and move abruptly as soon as it sees it clear. There you go. And it positions itself in the correct lane. So now immediately changes the lane to stay in the center lane, because this right lane might become for people that want to make a right turn. So center lane is always safe. So here's the next challenge we're going to see. Of course, we're going to see a lot of traffic on this street because of very congested street. But the real challenge is going to come in when we get closer to getting onto the freeway ramp, which is coming up in about 2 to 3 minutes. And it's a very, very busy, one of the busiest freeway intersection ramp. Lots of car driving on the freeway right now, and lots of car from this street, Supervised Street, getting onto 110, which is the also known as Harbor Freeway. We're going northbound towards downtown LA, and right now at what time is it? 3:11 p.m. By far the most busiest intersection time you could have picked. It's like the worst time I could have picked to test a self-driving. Now, the reason I'm doing so is because I have been driving self-driving car, this car, and letting it drive itself for almost 2.5 years now. Played a very important role in the beta testing with Tesla. And I do feel, and I'm extremely confident that it's ready for prime time. That's why I'm making this video at the rush hour, getting on a very busy intersection, very busy freeway, and very busy streets with a lot of traffic, a lot of human beings crossing the streets, and not worrying about the car making a mistake, because now I know how good this car's software has become. They took the word beta out of it. Now they call it FSD Supervised. What that means is that it's a full self-driving feature in this car, but the word supervised means that we still have the steering wheels, we still have the gas pedal and accelerator, even though I'm not using any of them, but I'm supposed to be sitting in the driver's seat and I have to supervise it. In the legal terms, what that really means is that I'm still liable for any accident. So the day they take this out, the steering wheels and the brake, then they also assume the liability, which I expect they will announce on August 8th, which is what they have done. They have said we're going to announce it on August 8th. So we have a green light here. Traffic is moving. This car to my right has a right blinker on. And notice how my car slowed down to make sure this guy is not going to try to get into our lane. Very smart. It reads the blinkers, all of that. The truck in front of me is driving very slow. The speed limit is much higher on the street. So the Tesla car, what it does usually in this case is it once it loses the patience of following the guy, it will change the lane. But if it sees that there's no purpose in changing the lane, there's congestion on both sides, it will not change the lane. One other thing that I wanted to point out is there is a camera. Can you point towards my finger right here? There's a camera. This camera is watching me, making sure I am watching the road. If I pick up the phone or I try to look around, it will turn off the self-driving. It will ask me to drive myself. So that's the penalty for me being distracted. So it's keeping an eye on me. Behind this camera is another camera, which is the main camera for self-driving. And then on top of that, there are additional 7 cameras on this car from sides to the back. All of these cameras, 8 cameras, are playing an important role in providing the eyes to the car's software, which then basically, now watch, this was an interesting move. My car is trying to go to the right lane, but it's not doing that because the guy in front of me is kind of indicating he's going to go into the right lane, sometimes left lane. So it's not sure what the pickup guy is going to do, and it's trying to avoid him. But now it stayed in the lane. It did not go to the left lane as it was initially trying to do. So going back to the cameras, 8 cameras, simultaneous feedback, much better than human vision. Obviously, you can see on the back, you can see front, you can see sides. Notice the truck in front of me is trying to get into the right lane, and my car is understanding that, and it's given it a gap. And once that car moves, it's going to speed up and get closer to the car in front of me because there's a big gap now. So, but it's being very careful with this truck because this guy is not predictable the way he's driving, which is exactly what I would do when I see a driver like that kind of behaves and crosses the lane and works, puts his car between the two lanes. I also kind of become cautious about such type of driver. So there is a tremendous amount of intelligence being used in the software which actually judges the other people's driving capabilities and behaves a little differently based on how it sees the other cars behaving. Even if you have accidentally left your right or left blinker on, the software goes towards the cautious status in saying, even though they might be making a mistake, what if they're not making a mistake? So it tries to avoid being next to them in that situation. The cars, you can see again on the dashboard here, all the cars are shown, and you can also see how it actually differentiates between this pickup car, which is bigger, which is that ambulance right there, versus the other cars which are not a pickup. So it not only determines the cars, it also tries to identify what type of car it is, whether it's a truck, whether it's an ambulance, whether it's a pickup truck. So that way it knows exactly where the boundaries of that object are and avoids being closer or getting inside the boundary, which would be obviously a big no-no. This car is completely trained on videos from drivers that drive Tesla, many drivers that don't even know that their videos were used essentially for training Tesla, because it uploads the videos of good drivers. It has a scoring system built in. So now it's changed, by the way, it got into the right lane because we are about half a mile getting into Freeway 110, which, remember what I told you, it's one of the busiest, most trickiest intersection. A lot of cars driving at 80 miles an hour, which is like 120 kilometers an hour, are going to be on that freeway, and we are going to join them. We're going to join them right here in this loop through self-driving. Again, I'm not driving. I'm going to let the car get on that ramp and join that traffic, and then change the lanes and get into the right lane, correct lane, and eventually take the exit all the way down to our destination, which is actually a warehouse that we're visiting today in the city of Gardena, which is approximately now from here, it's about 8-mile ride. So let's see how it works on that junction. I'm as curious as anything else. I have never tried this before. This is the first time I'm actually trying this car on a rush hour traffic, going on that 110 ramp from Spilvada, which I know is an extremely busy intersection. So let's enjoy and let's keep our fingers crossed. Hopefully everything will go smooth. But the key is, guys, we're not 10 years away from self-driving cars. We are there. We're almost there. August 8th, Tesla is going to announce about the first self-driving car, what they call as robotaxi, which means a car without the steering wheels and the brake and the accelerator. And soon after that, we will basically go ahead and start seeing the manufacturing of such cars. Imagine the possibilities. The blind can drive per se, or they can have a car. By the way, show the gas prices. If you see those gas prices, those are the gas prices per gallon. American gallon is 3.5 liters. It's not 5-liter gallons, it's 3.5 liters. And your regular gas is at $5.40. And the spring gas is $5.79. So this is just one example of why we need electrical cars and why we need self-driving cars, because not only do they are they safer, but they also free us from this gas prices expenses every month, and more importantly, they're cleaner in the air, and they don't create as much pollution as the internal combustion engine cars do. LA is just crazy 579. So here's green light. The car sees the green light on the dashboard. So we're going to get on that intersection. Shall we show this screen one more time? Look at where we are right now. We're getting very close to that loop. So it's coming up on in front of you. and the car is driving at 31 miles per hour. Its maximum speed is set at 50. As soon as it gets on the ramp, it's going to increase its speed probably to 75 miles per hour, which is around 100 or 115 kilometers in that range. So now showing the right blinker, getting onto the ramp. This is the ramp I was telling you, busiest ramp at the rush hour time. 2 lanes. The left lane is for carpools. It didn't take that. It took the first lane to the right, which is fine. They merge. It's watching the car behind me, and it's now already changed the speed to 72 as a maximum, and it's going to start accelerating as soon as I get on the ramp and try to cleverly merge into the lanes. Notice how every car already driving at 130 kilometers, which is about 70-80 miles per hour. So this car now in the far right lane is getting on the freeway. There's a car ahead of me, and my car is now probably going to change a couple of lanes because it doesn't want to stay in the extreme right lane, which wouldn't be advisable. It hasn't done so yet. I don't know why, but that's an AI thing where it knows when it's safe to change the lane. So now it's showing the blinker, changing the lane to the right lane. So the car ahead of me also did that. And there's a car, so it cannot change any further lanes because there was a car. Now it's changing one more lane because it's safe to do so, and it's going to stay in this lane. Hopefully, I don't know if it's going to go in the extreme fast lane, so let's see how that's going to work. Now it is actually going into the extreme fast lane, but there's a car right behind me, very close. It showed the blinker, but then it realized the car behind me was actually speeding up, and it canceled the idea of going to the fast lane. Now the traffic is very dense. Changing the lane is not as easy. Now the traffic is more like stop and go or slow down significantly from 80 miles per hour down to 45 miles per hour. It can change the lane now safely, and it's trying to do that. There you go, perfect. And it did get into the fast lane, found a spot. There was a gap with the car behind me, and it got into that lane. So even though I could drive at 75 miles, I'm only driving at 51 miles per hour right now, and traffic's pretty heavy. We have about 4.5 miles before we take our Rosecrans exit. But take a look at this freeway. It's all red. Red means heavy traffic, slow traffic. This is rush hour traffic, cars in both directions. Lots of cars in LA and traveling at high speed. And it brakes as soon as it sees other cars braking, maintains that gap, watches for the car behind me. Well, it's done just amazingly. Surprised me how when the car behind me was coming too fast, it moved a little bit forward to avoid the guy hitting me. It is choosing to stay in the fast lane because we have a lot of time, 4 miles before we have to take an exit. So it's going to start moving back to the far right lane, to the exit lane, as it gets closer to like 1.5 mile range, and it does that very confidently. Notice how dense the traffic is, and it has to find the spot between the cars to change those lanes. So let's watch that maneuver, which is where the true AI challenges come into play. All kinds of cars. This car has a motorcycle behind it. It detects all these accessories when people have these whether they have trailers behind them or motorcycles. It can detect all of that, and it can figure it out. There are no radars, there are no ultrasonics in this car. Actually, this car does have ultrasonic, but doesn't use them for self-driving. It's purely based on cameras. It's called a vision-based driving. So it's using the same technology that our brain uses, which is eyes as cameras and our brain as the processor. So it has a processor, very powerful processor, and 8 cameras instead of 2 cameras. So it has more eyes than we do. That's why it can see things that I couldn't normally see, like can see behind me, what's happening behind me as well as what's happening in front of me. So we are now 3 miles to our exit, and we're at this point in time under the junction of 405 and 110, which is a very busy ramp intersection. Other cars come in and join the traffic. It's staying in the fast lane anyway. It's speeding up. Now it's up to 60 miles per hour, going up to 66, 68, almost 70 now, 67. And we're 2.6 miles to our exit. It's at 68 miles per hour. Cars joining from the other freeway to my left, which is unusual. Normally cars join to the right, but this time on this junction they join to the left, and it's giving them room. It's not changing the lane. It's only 2.3 miles, so decided to change the lane now after it saw that safe. It's getting into the second lane, second fastest lane on the highway. And I think it's going to probably stay there because we're getting very close to exit and the traffic is very dense, so changing the lane might be difficult. No need to get into the fast lane. Okay guys, so now the other challenge that self-driving cars always face, which is exiting the freeway. It's not easy to exit the freeway for one reason, that there is too many cars. It has to move from lane 2 to lane 1 or lane 0, and that is a 4-lane change in a very short period of time. It doesn't want to do that too early. It doesn't want to do that too late. If it does it too late, it's going to miss the exit. If it does it too early, then it's going to be in the slow lane unnecessarily for a long time. So the car ahead of me is also showing a right blinker. My car is not understanding why that guy is showing a right blinker. So it has decided to slow down and understand that person's behavior. Now it sees, okay, this person's actually changing the lane. So now my car is speeding up and saying, okay, he actually did intend to change the lane. So notice that slowdown of my car. Okay, car ahead of me tried to get into my lane. Did you see that? How my car immediately slowed down and saw that the car ahead of me was swirling into my lane. Okay, first right blinker, first lane change effort towards exit. We are 1.1 miles away from our exit. So it started early, a mile before the exit, because it knows the traffic is heavy and it's going to try to get into the position way ahead of time. What will surprise you is how confidently it does that. Take a look at this, show the screen one more time. We're 0.9 miles from our exit, 0.9 miles. And look at this redness on the freeway. That means a lot of dense traffic. It knows that. Despite that, watch how it's going to first lane change. It's coming up, but it found the car behind me too close. Now it's trying to make second attempt at the lane change. There you go. It has one more lane change before it gets into the exit lane, which is the one lane to my right. But notice that the one lane to my right is actually an exit for the Redondo Beach Boulevard, not for Rosecrans. So ours is the next one. So we're technically already in the correct lane for our exit. So because of the density of the traffic, it did that about 3/4 of a mile before. Normally it does that about 1/4 of a mile before, but because of the density of the traffic, it got into the exit lane 3/4 of a mile before. So we're about 0.6 miles to Rosecrans Avenue. You can see coming up Rosecrans at 3/4, and my car is patiently following the small truck ahead of me, and it's going to take an exit. Now, after it exits, it has to go make a right turn into the surface street. And by the way, there are two different technologies of software that work for the freeways versus surface roads, and they switch without you noticing that they switched. One of the ways I know they switched is the visualization on my screen changes from what it is right now to something else. So I did done one more lane change, speeded up a little bit because there was room to speed up. Now it's slowing down again because we have to take an exit, and it knows that the exit cannot be done at high speed. So it's lowered the speed down to 60 from 75, now down to 55 miles. And you can see now, because the exit is sharp curve, it's slowing down to 40, 35, 32, and a little jerk there. Didn't understand because the lane markings weren't clear. So got into the far right lane, which is the correct lane to be getting into, because we are making a right turn, not a left turn. So these two lanes, the left lane goes only left, right lane goes only right. So it's showing that it's going to make a right turn ahead of you. So you can see this is a unique green light with two arrows, one pointing right, one pointing left. So here you go. It's getting into the right lane, getting to our destination. Now it's on the surface street, and a different software portion has kicked in to drive on the surface street, which uses much higher quality of AI compared to on the freeways. The reason for that is because there are too many variables on the surface street. Pedestrians, bicycles, dogs, all kinds of stuff that can happen. So it has to behave more like a human. So that is the Chat GPT version of of self-driving that it kicks in on the surface street. On the freeways, it uses a similar technology, but completely differently done, and that was their original approach, how they started. So here it is, green light. Notice that it actually shows on the visualization also the green light. So we're getting very close, about half a mile to our destination, and the destination is a warehouse. So normally what it used to do is it would get to the destination, it would just stop in the middle of the road. Now with this latest version, you will see that it tries to find a parking spot, which is amazing. So here's a bicyclist at the corner of the road, and it didn't slow down for him, which is fine because it was safe for it to continue. So we're getting very close to our destination. Let's see whether or not it's going to stop in the middle of the road, or it's going to try to find a parking spot. Sometimes it finds a parking spot, sometimes it doesn't. So that's our building coming up after the Bank of America building. So we're going to make a right turn here, and then it will get to the destination. And let's see where it drops me, whether it drops me onto the street or it takes me to the parking lot. So here it is. This is the building. Oh, notice that now it's getting into the parking lot. Oh, actually, no, it didn't get into their parking lot because that's a private, but it did pull to the side of the curb of this building that is my destination, and it's going to actually find the right spot to enter and park the car and stop. So this is very convenient because it's actually going to the destination. So ladies and gentlemen, perfect drive, never done before. I did it knowing that this technology has gotten to a point where it's very human-like. So this was Tesla full self-driving 12.3.4, and today is April 19th, 2024. Mark my words, by the end of next year, there will be cars without steering wheels, brakes, accelerators, because the confidence level is extremely high in these cars now. And already Waymo and Cruise have those cars as taxis, but they will become readily available for common men to own. So thank you very much, and I'm signing off.